So let's move on and talk about establishing the risk categories. Now, establishing the risk categories is super critical because these are going to serve the organization for many years to come once we got that master list. Now, our research in this area began with our initial work in the risk area, which was for SmithKline Glaxo. And so we've had a consumer brand perspective from the beginning, but we've done extensive projects and more research that have built out our database. So as we help you develop your risk categories, we're going to be hitting up three sources. The first of which is our own master list of risk categories, which comes from, as I said, a lot of years of experience, both in the consumer brand and the wider market space. Let's take a quick look at that list. So within our risk list, we've identified common categories, and then within those categories, subcategories, and then inside of them, we can drill down to ever more detail. So we've got basically 4 levels of detail that we drill into at the risk category and then subcategory level, with descriptions and sources if it's client work or if it's desktop research. And so across this, we've got several thousand risks that we can research as we help you build out your risk framework. The second source we can go to is a consumer brands risk dictionary. So again, within the consumer brands area, we've done a lot of work and research to develop a list of what are the common risks and risk categories that we see. This list of a couple of hundred are, again, another source. And then the third source is just best practice dictionaries like COSO and so forth. And the idea is we'll join those together to come up with a long list of risks that we can then use to assess. Now, here comes the important part. The important part is this. We're going to do a 360 scoring of likelihood and impact. And what 360 is going to do is take a look at a bunch of different stakeholders. And the idea is each stakeholder has a particular perspective, and that perspective is both intensive in their area, but has gaps in the other areas. So, for example, one group that we recommend you put together is process subject matter experts. So people that understand specific processes in the organization. Secondly, customer subject matter experts. So understanding particular customers or customer segments that you serve. And again, as you can imagine, they've got a different view of risks than the process. Thirdly is the risk team itself. So your expertise that's been developed through your audits and so forth. Fourth is product subject matter experts. So people that understand the brands and products and which risks are relative to them. Next is regional expertise. And again, that allows us to see that regional twist. And then finally, leadership. And so the idea of this 360 is we get coverage and understand what the gaps are. But there's an unintended benefit to this that we discovered as well. And that is it makes your internal audits more effective. So for example, if I need to do an audit in a particular location, I'm going to take a look at the regional information to discover are there regional issues that we need to include or other regional issues that we can exclude. So by understanding that region and what products, processes, customers they work with, we can begin to filter the risk categories to make those internal audits more effective. Now, again, it's important to note that this ultimate list that we develop is going to transcend time. So the last step is to test it. Test it against, for example, your historic risks, not from this year, but from the last 10 or 15 years to come up with a final risk category list. So that gives you more detail on how it is we go through these steps of helping you set up that risk category.